Think about the hardest college class you've ever taken. Now imagine you're forced to pay $70 for just one book you need to study. Expensive and limited resources are two problems that students at George Mason University face on a daily basis. As students at GMU, many of you listening have likely run into a problem regarding lack of resources, whether it be due to money, shortage of books, or limited time offered with these resources. You may have struggled to study or even failed a test. This means you've likely faced the mental, financial, and academic burdens that come with these problems. Informing you of this issue will help raise awareness as well as help us make resources cheaper and more accessible to students.
Hello, our names are Dylan, Bruce, Destin, Charlotte, and Bahara. We are all students attending George Mason University. Each of us has experience with the textbook and resource limitations at George Mason, as well as their costly requirements. This is why we want to propose a change. As students at George Mason, we see problems firsthand, experience them firsthand, and understand what needs to be changed, which is why we have done the research in hopes to apply a beneficial element to our university and its students. Coming with many burdens, the cost and limitation of academic resources, as well as the limited time offered with them, has had a financial, mental, and academic impact on a student at George Mason University.
In this speech, we will first discuss the problems that come with costly and limited resources. Next, we will present our solutions on how we can fix this problem. And finally, we will present our action plan and how we can help the school implement these solutions.
Now let's discuss the problem regarding costly and limited academic resources at George Mason and why the problem needs to be addressed.
Hmm. Students at George Mason University deal with a significant problem. Many academic materials are costly, rare, or only available temporarily. The cost of textbooks and access codes, which often range from $70 to $200, place a significant financial strain on students who already have to pay for accommodation, tuition, and other living expenses. For those who try to save money by visiting the library, resources are often few, and a few copies available usually come with tight 2 or 3 hour checkout limits. A common problem when demand exceeds limited supply, students find it challenging to study efficiently as a result, particularly in those with hectic schedules, jobs, or lengthy commutes. Because they don't have the resources they need to succeed, um, pupils may fall behind in class. High course material costs have been linked to students skipping required materials, working extra hours, or even abandoning certain courses. This problem needs immediate action since it affects students financially, mentally, and academically. Many students have to choose between necessary course materials, essentials due to financial constraints at George Mason University. The estimated annual cost for books and supplies alone is about $1,288 to $1,290, creating a significant burden for many students. Mentally, the stress of not having access to textbooks or racing against limited checkout times produces anxiety, discontent, and exhaustion, reflecting national findings that high textbook costs continue to strain students' well-being. Academically, students who cannot purchase access required materials often lag behind during lectures, perform poorly on examinations, or fail classes, not due to the lack of effort, but due to the lack of the essential resources needed to study. Um, Rising course material prices have widely documented as a barrier to academic success across United States institutions, reducing equitable access to education. The system keeps becoming unfair and keeps students from realizing their full potential when access to learning is dependent on financial resources' unlimited availability. Now let's discuss some of the solutions to these problems.
Next, we will go over some specific studies done among college students involving textbook affordability, explain how they provide proof our issue is valid, and briefly explain some general solutions to amend this problem. In two surveys conducted, one by the Barnes & Noble College Insights in 2021 and the other by the U.S. Public Interest Research Group in 2014, both tests yielded similar results. In the survey sent out among college students by Barnes & Noble, they found that 85% of respondents said that they delayed their purchasing of textbooks, delayed their purchasing of required textbooks. Among these students, 91% of them said that the reason for this was, and I quote, "cost was the ultimate reason they didn't buy their textbooks." Similarly, the survey sent out by the National Center for Education yielded results that found 64% of students didn't buy their textbooks at all. Once again, the main reason for this lack of purchase was financial concerns. Additionally, 94% of the students who responded to this survey claimed that they feared their grades would suffer because of the absence of said textbooks. These statistics are the perfect tool to highlight the validity of our desire for change. While 85% of students may have only delayed their purchasing of textbooks in the 2014 survey, 64% from the 2021 survey avoided buying their books altogether. This consistency provides the irrefutable fact that nearly all of the 2021 students had the same financial concerns as their predecessors in 2014. Over this course of time, the cause of concern is the same, which leads me to some potential solutions for solving the issue at hand. The first general solution would be a revamped checkout system for school-issued textbooks. This system would rely on a reservation platform where students would rent textbooks periodically when needed for cheaper prices. Another independent idea would be the lowering of textbook prices the more they were rented, used, and returned. Rentable textbooks are already cheaper than textbooks that need to be purchased. If the price on textbooks gets lower after every use, students are offered even more options for securing required material at cheaper prices. After hearing our solutions, let's transition over to our action plan and the way George Mason University can implement these solutions.
A study on textbook affordability as a social justice issue conducted by the Journal of Interactive Media and Education concluded that textbook prices pose an educational burden for the overwhelming majority of students surveyed. Several of those barriers were found to be even more significant among minorities, low-income students, and first-generation college students, with nearly 36% of George Mason's student population being first-generation students and a majority of students being some form of minority. A long-term textbook lending program is especially important to implement. While GMU may already have a short-term resource lending program, it's primarily available for Mason Core, and resources can't be kept for an extended period of time. We can implement solutions for both of these problems if we take we can implement solutions for both of these problems to further take stress and anxiety away from the students of this university. There are a couple of specific routes that GMU can take to start and upkeep a long-term lending program. One route is to reallocate library funds to purchase more textbooks for 10 or so high-demand classes, such as base-level classes on each topic that most majors have to take, or some common Mason core classes, and use those to start a pilot program. This program could also focus on the common expensive textbooks that a lot of students have to pay for, so that people in those classes will be more inclined to utilize long-term lending. Another route that GMU can take is a revamped checkout system to convert the current lending program from short-term to long-term. In an ideal updated system, students interested in utilizing the lending system would be able to reserve books and resources for a longer period of time. And for the cases where the book or material may not be available, a reservation or a waitlist and notification system would be put in place. And as mentioned earlier, a way that textbooks can be more accessible is as they are rented more, the cost of them would be able to decrease, like from the bookstore. The university could invest in this idea by purchasing more high-demand textbooks to have enough to rent out and allowing for people to continuously have affordable access to the materials that they need to succeed, while the university is still able to turn a profit by continuing to rent out the newly purchased materials. With that, let's bring everything together and discuss some final takeaways.
As you can see, coming with many burdens, the cost and limitation of resources has had financial, academic, and mental impact on all students.
In this speech, we discussed the academic resources problem at George Mason University. We then discussed some possible solutions to this problem, and finally explained how we believe George Mason University can apply these solutions to benefit students.
In the end, academic resources should not be a privilege. They should be a guarantee. Addressing this issue as a college community, we can get students the resources they need to succeed and also make their college experience great.